Flags across the 4 states at half-staff in honor of not only Corporal Cooper but also Officer Reed, with evening rain on the way. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the Joplin Police Department suffers another tragic loss as a retired chaplain dies in a car crash.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
You're watching the KOAM News at Noon. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. The Joplin Police Department has announced details about the funeral for Corporal Ben Cooper. The city and police department want to express their deepest gratitude for the overwhelming amount of support from all the community as we all mourn the loss of Corporal Ben Cooper. If you're attending the public funeral service on Tuesday, you must enter through the checkpoint at the intersection of Newman Road and Duquesne Road. Officials encourage anyone in the community who wants to honor Corporal Cooper to attend the service. Members of the public are invited to line Main Street from 3rd to 19th Street to show their support. The procession will travel the route between 3 and 4 on Tuesday, and people should avoid parking on Main Street during that time. The city also said people should expect brief traffic delays in and around Joplin on Tuesday between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Additionally, Duquesne Road between Newman and Tallgrass Drive will be closed from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Funeral services were also announced for Officer Jake Reed, killed in the same encounter. These services will also be at MSSU. Visitation will be on Thursday from 4 to 8 p.m. The funeral will be on Friday at 1. The Joplin Police Department announced it'll retire the radio numbers of Corporal Cooper and Officer Reed in the coming days. Officials say an officer's radio number becomes a part of their identity and adds another piece to the brotherhood of law enforcement. Corporal Cooper's radio number was 222. Officer Reed's number was 270. Officer Rick Hershey was also shot on Tuesday. At last report, Hershey was in serious but stable condition, recovering from a gunshot to the face. The police chief said Hershey will likely require numerous surgeries and a long recovery. As the Joplin Police Department mourns the loss of 2 officers in the line of duty this week, they're now mourning the loss of a longtime former chaplain. Roger Nichols was a chaplain for JPD for 18 years. The department said in a Facebook post that he selflessly served the department and specifically the family of Officer Tim Nielsen after Tim gave his life in service to the community. Nichols was killed in a crash on East 20th Street in Joplin. He was 60 years old. Now let's throw it over to Michael for a first look at the weather.
Bronte, as you mentioned, with the funerals of Corporal Cooper, Officer Reed, and the loss of Chaplain Nichols, flags across the 4 states, including the one outside of Television City, flying at half-staff for the duration of this week. With those funeral announcements being now posted and that information as far as the road closures and what to anticipate here for tomorrow, you can find that at KOAMnewsnow.com. Our weather will cooperate for those of you that will be lining the streets to pay your respects to our fallen officers. As we look at it right now, the cloud cover intruded. It intruded quickly on this Monday morning. Really did have a delightful start, but now we're going to be overcast and windy for the duration of our afternoon into the evening until we get a little rainfall, but still right on par with our average high for this time of year, which should be around 59 degrees, hanging out at 58 in Joplin, Carthage, though Lamar and Miami in as well. Neodesha at 58. We'll scrape out a low 60 every now and then. Won't make it up into the mid 60s because of the cloud cover, but we'll certainly see some 61s and 62s. A large part of that is because of our wind tracker coming in 20 miles an hour throughout southeast Kansas, Joplin Regional. Those are not wind gusts. Remember, those are sustained winds that we're seeing at 20 or just at 20 miles per hour. Starting to see a little rain begin to filter from Louisiana up through the natural state of Arkansas right there. We'll take a look at some road conditions coming up here in just a little bit, but really for the most part been rather mundane. Is the only thing that shows up on our Skywatch storm tracker for the time being, just the heavy cloud cover. Now as we get into the afternoon and evening hours, that's when that rain that we're seeing formulate circulate in Arkansas begins to have a little northerly push, and we'll have some scattered showers throughout the afternoon and nighttime hours. The majority of our accumulation staying down to the south along and just on the other side of I-44. And then by the time we get to Tuesday, 9 a.m., should be a thing of the past. We'll slowly begin to warm up, and coming up here in just a little bit, Bronte, talk about those rain chances, exactly where they're coming from, our amount of accumulation, and really nice middle of the week as we'll be in the 70s.
All right, thanks, Michael. A fire at a home in Lamar leaves one person dead. Around 6 Saturday morning, Lamar police and fire responded to a fire at a home near the intersection of 10th and Grand. They found flames and heavy smoke showing from the home. 67-year-old William Parker and 71-year-old Betty Jo Parker lived there. Officials say that Betty Jo was found dead inside the home. They say it appears she went back into the home to rescue a pet and was overcome by smoke. William is being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The cause of the fire has been ruled accidental. Beginning today, the 1100 block east of 22nd Street in Pittsburgh will be completely closed to traffic at the railroad crossing for track and crossing repairs. Detour signs will be in place. Drivers should seek alternate routes, use extreme caution in construction areas, and be aware of the workers. Construction will continue through Friday. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on the KOAM News at Noon.
Hi, this is Alan from Wayside Furniture.
And later, we're
Joplin.
making mushroom
Did you know
rice
that
bake
we're
in the
family?
Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Topping Nation Watch, high-level talks are taking place in Europe today as the war in Ukraine lands just a few miles outside the Polish border. Diplomats from Russia and Ukraine are scheduled to meet for another round of talks, while the U.S. National Security Advisor meets with a Chinese official today in Rome. News of these talks didn't stop Russia from striking a military training facility with roughly 30 cruise missiles, killing at least 35 people. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned NATO countries it would only be a matter of time before Russian missiles fell on their citizens. We'll have more on the war in Ukraine coming up. The war in Ukraine has many Americans boycotting Russian businesses and products, including vodka. But as Bradley Blackburn explains, that may not have the impact you would expect.
If there's proof in the power of symbols, it's clear at Residence Act Distillery near Washington.
DC is such a special place.
Since 2020, they've been bottling their all-American vodka with an image of the U.S. Capitol on the front. And now they're getting orders from customers making a political statement.
We're seeing the customers be excited that it's local and voicing their concern about making sure that they're not buying a brand that is coming from Russia.
It's an unexpected boost for this brand as Russian vodkas are being pulled from liquor store shelves and bars. But the truth is that very little vodka consumed in the U.S. is Russian. Last year, just 1% of imports came from Russia, according to the Distilled Spirits Council. At New York's Russian vodka room, there's now a Ukrainian flag outside, and behind the bar, no actual Russian vodka.
These are from Holland. This is from Holland. Everybody knows Kettle One. Mirov, that's from Ukraine.
Even bartender Boguslava Eigner is Polish. Still, business here dropped 80% after the invasion.
People hate everything what's Russian now.
Russian association is hurting big companies too. Stolichnaya is changing its name to just Stoli to stress it's made in Latvia. The company says sources for the spirit are now 100% non-Russian.
Vodka is not just a Russian thing.
Yeah.
Eigner says broad backlash can hurt the wrong victims.
We're not here to support the war. We're trying to make a living.
Something she hopes people remember when they try to take a shot at Russia. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
President Biden has announced a ban on the import of signature Russian products, including Russian vodka. Still to come on KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
Looking for a side dish that's as memorable as your main dish? Well, look no more, because today we're sharing a mouth-watering recipe that's one pan easy.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
Well, at least we got to enjoy what was a beautiful Monday morning because the clouds quickly moved in from the west, kind of took away all that early morning sunshine. Also, too, cooled it down quite a bit once we lost the sun and we had the south wind blow in. Now we got some rain happening down to the south. Thank you very much, our excellent director there, Tim, finding us a Department of Transportation camera out of Benton, Arkansas right here. That's about the extent of the rain that we've seen, even though it's picked up on the radar. This is what's headed up our way. Came in off the Gulf through Louisiana, now tracking through central Arkansas right here. But I tell you what, it's a rather unimpressive sight. Not that that's a bad thing. If we can keep it that way when it rolls through the 4 states, we will call that a winner. Just kind of give you a general idea of what we were looking at. That's that cell right there, and as it moves up to the north right there, it will have a little bit of it begin to spread through Oklahoma as well. It really is going to be that scattered variety. Nothing organized. Doesn't have a whole lot of energy to it whatsoever, so we don't have to worry about anything severe. But if you're going to be out and about for the afternoon and evening hours, make sure you do grab the umbrella. We've been on the dry side so far and really will be for the next several hours or so. 58 degrees, kind of been stuck there over 7th and Range Line in Joplin. The one thing that has not been stuck is anything that's not tied down when you got winds gusting up to 29 miles per hour. Also, nice little relief in the humidity as we've seen it increase throughout our afternoon hours. Started the morning with elevated fire concerns, coming up with evening rain. I know, very counterintuitive, but that's what we had earlier this morning. But because our humidity is growing, we can kind of lose the fire worries. Just be nice if the wind would calm down just a little bit, because the wind gust tracker in excess of 30 miles an hour at times at our various locations right here, still kicking in at 32 miles per hour out in Independence. But like I said, at the same point in time, because we've seen that relative humidity grow, and it gives you an idea of the little bubble right there. We kind of find ourselves on the far northern edge of that Gulf moisture that's pushed up all the way from Louisiana, East Texas, up through Oklahoma and Arkansas, now upon us. Now, we're not going to see a whole lot of difference in our temperatures for the afternoon, a result of that cloud cover, kind of topped out. South wind's giving us about as much southwestern warmth as it can, but at the same point, average high this time of year, 59. So really right on par. Still got a whole bunch of 58s hanging out from Miami up through Carthage and Lamar. Stockton already at 60 degrees. Neodesha sitting at 58. So all things considered, really can't complain about it temperature-wise. Let's talk about that precipitable water. Of course, you get down in portions of East Texas, western Louisiana. That is that Gulf moisture. And it is perceptible, albeit barely, but you see it just gets a little bit of that bluer right there. The purple's going to indicate the very dry atmosphere. And so we're the recipients, and that's really where it's going to stall out too. That rain's not going to have much of a northern push to it. That's about as north as we'll see it get. Nationally speaking, big trough of the jet stream stretching down below south of the panhandles right now. And what that does, takes everything, just lifts it straight up. Kind of a split as well. You get big west to east movement coming off of the Pacific, and that rolls over the Great Lakes there, encountering some mid-March snow up there in portions of Michigan, Wisconsin, and even Illinois. Our afternoon planner, let's talk a little bit about our rain, because it will carry us into early Tuesday morning. Do want to stress, once again, not looking at anything severe. And while the western and northern portions, and we're about 0.8 of an inch down from our historical norm on this March the 14th, so we are in need of a little bit of rain. But we'll see about most of our accumulation down here. And when I say accumulation, 0.2 of an inch, that's most we're going to see. We don't have any flooding concerns or anything like that. Very limited lightning. And then by the time we get ready to take off tomorrow morning, really should be having everything drop off to the southeast. Like I said, we're kind of capped right here. That's about as far as that rain really wants to go. Then as we push into Wednesday, watch this little warm trend that we get through the entire Midwest. Pushes well up, and that's going to put us up into the 70s for Wednesday and Thursday. Then we see that secondary system begin to form. Now, Bronte, even though we're going to pick up some rain for Thursday night into Friday with that system and a cold front on the backside of it, great news in the fact that we stay well above 32 degrees. No chance for any winter weather.
Right.
Two things to point out. We got the 17th being Thursday, so St. Patrick's Day, rain that night. And then our first day of astronomical spring coming up on Sunday.
All right, and weather seems pretty on par for what you would expect for
very
Monday
average
spring.
for Monday and Tuesday, well above average temperatures for Wednesday and Thursday.
Oh, thank you. Well, we take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Staff Sergeant Homer Cole from Pittsburgh, Kansas. Staff Sergeant Cole served in England from 1943 to 1945 as part of the 8th Air Force 487 Bomber Group. He was also a B-17 tail gunner. To Staff Sergeant Homer Cole, we thank you, today's four-state hero. If you're looking for a side dish that's as memorable as your main dish, look no further, because today we're sharing a mouth-watering recipe that's one pan easy in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
If someone were to ask you what you had for dinner last night, there's a good chance you'd only remember the main dish. That's because that's usually the start of the meal. Well, that won't be the case if you serve the side dish we're whipping up today. It's flavorful, easy to make, and very memorable. We start by combining some long grain rice with freshly sliced mushrooms, a small chopped onion, a can of condensed beef broth, a can of cream of mushroom soup, some butter, and a bit of black pepper. After giving it a stir, we pour it into a baking dish, cover it, and pop it in the oven. That's it. The oven does the rest. By the way, feel free to swap out the white rice for the brown or use chicken broth instead of beef. It's your masterpiece. And since it's so versatile, you can serve this with just about anything from roasted chicken to grilled steak. Just be careful taking it out of the oven because it's going to be smoking hot. To get the recipe for what we call our mushroom rice bake, all you have to do is visit our website. I'm Howard with Kelly in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a memorable way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at koamnewsnow.com. Now here's a look at four-state market prices.
Overcast and windy for the duration of the afternoon. Now, as we get closer to the scattered rain moving in, you'll notice the wind will die down. Once again, no threat of anything severe. It won't be well organized, 1/10 of an inch, about as much as we'll get. And then we slowly warm up all the way into the 70s by the middle of the week.
All right, looking forward to those warmer temperatures.
Perfect middle of the week.
Yes, definitely. Dow, what do we have coming up today at 5?
Well, at 5, a new study shows that some ambient light could actually improve the benefits of sleep. And Officer Rick Hershey, who was seriously injured in last week's shooting in Joplin, once served as the school resource officer for Eastmoreland Elementary in Joplin. We're going to hear from the school about the impact that he had at his time there. We're also going to look at the effort underway in Ukraine to save its cultural pieces from being destroyed in the war. Hope you join us for those stories, a whole lot more, of course. It's all coming up today right here on KOAM News at 5.
Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.